Hello, welcome back to my channel. Here is Dr. Syed Adnan Athar Bukhari. Today I am going to discuss a very important topic, that is Pulwama Balakot crisis that happened between India and Pakistan in 2019. Now the 6 years have passed between this crisis. So we look back to that particular crisis situation that developed between India and Pakistan. In this particular series, I am going to discuss that how this particular incident happened and how India and Pakistan they responded to they engaged into a kind of aerial combat operation between each other, and what are the implications of this particular crisis between the overall relationship between these two countries. The Pulwama Balakot crisis happened when there was a terrorist activity. A Kashmiri boy he conducted a suicide bombing and on the Indian convoy that was passing from the Srinagar and Jammu highway, and in that terrorist activity he blown himself, and there were around 40 Indian security personnel who were killed in that particular incident. And that sparked a crisis situation between India and Pakistan, because India claimed that that terrorist activities was linked to a Pakistani-based militant organization, Jaish-e-Mohammed, who had might be allegedly had the militant activity and militant bases inside Kashmir. For that matter, India responded to a kind of aerial combat operation deep inside Pakistan, and it ensued a kind of crisis situation. This terrorist activity ensued a aerial combat operation because India carried out a aerial operation inside Pakistan in Balakot on the night of 26th of February 2019. And on the next day, Pakistan also responded by carrying out a operation what is called as the Operation Swift Retort. And in that particular operation, Pakistan shot down 2 of the Indian fighter jets and captured a pilot, Abhinandan. And later on, he was also released into as a goodwill gesture from Pakistan. This crisis, what we also refer to the Pulwama crisis or maybe Pulwama Balakot crisis, this crisis remained for around a month, and it was basically one of the serious crisis situation, or what we call it as the tense situation between India and Pakistan that had happened after the Kargil crisis in the post-nuclearized context in South Asia. While India claimed that Pakistan's based militant organization might be carried out those incidents or terrorist activity, but Pakistani government at that time they responded that Pakistan was not involved into any kind of that particular activity. And also Pakistani government they basically asked the Indian government to have a kind of bilateral joint investigation into the incident, but that proposal was rejected by India, and the Indians they did not restrain their behavior, and they resorted to a kind of aerial combat operation inside Pakistan. So Indians they did not observe restraint, and they carried out an aerial combat operation, Bandar or monkey operation they called it. And what they did is that they sent around 12 2000 Mirage fighter jets with Israeli-based Israeli Spice 2000 base bombs into payloads. They came deep inside Pakistan, and they claimed that they carried out they struck those targets which had around multi-story building of Jaish-e-Mohammed inside Jabba valley of Balakot, and around 350 terrorists which India claimed that they were basically died out of that operation. However, Pakistan denied of this particular claims that India killed around 350 terrorists, or they have basically destroyed one particular building in Jabba Valley. There was no casualty that occurred. The local residents, they claimed that maybe some of the trees they were damaged, and a crow was also damaged because of the Indian payload on that particular area where these strikes were basically happened. However, India violated Pakistani airspace. They came inside Pakistan, and Pakistan vehemently responded to this particular Indian violation of airspace. Pakistan, protested that the Indian violation of the airspace was violation of the international law and international UN principles. In that particular day, once on the night of 26th of February 2019, once this incident occurred, on the next day, Pakistani Armed Forces Media Wing, they responded, and they gave Pakistan's response to that particular incident. And there was a very famous statement that was given by DG ISPR Asif Ghafoor, and he claimed that now it is time for India to wait for our response. The response will come at the time and point of our choosing, where our civil military leadership decides, and as a matter of fact has decided. It is your turn now to wait and get ready for our surprise. On the next day, on 27th of February 2019, Pakistani Air Force, they carried out a reprisal attack against the Indian combat operation inside Pakistan. Pakistani operation was known as the Operation Swift Retort. In that particular operation, there were around 6 fighter jets that took part into that particular activity. They went deep side into Indian Kashmir. Pakistani fighter jets, they targeted the military installations of India, but deliberately did not target those installations, but they fired near to those military installations to avoid escalation. In that particular matter, because there was a heightened situation at that particular time, the Indians, they also responded through a kind of aerial combat operation. And once the Pakistani fighter jets, they were coming back, the Indian Air Force, they also sent its forces, air forces, to chase the Pakistani air forces. And in that particular combat operation, Pakistani Air Force, they shot down 2 of the Indian fighter jets, MiG-21 and Su-30, and they also captured one of the pilot of the Indian shot fighter jet, and one of his pilot was Wing Commander Abhinandan, that was captured by Pakistani security forces. Pakistanis, they often make a proud statement of the Abhinandan once he was captured and he was offered tea, and he basically responded to the tea by saying that tea was fantastic. So this is basically how that particular incident happened. Now the situation after this Pakistani response attack, it further created to a kind of situation in which escalation was going to happen. 2 days after this incident, on March 1st, 2019, so Pakistani government, they basically released the captured pilot Abhinandan to the Indian authorities as a goodwill gesture. And I think that that particular Pakistani action, that created a kind of goodwill space or a kind of confidence building between India and Pakistan, and also led to the de-escalation of the conflict later. Indians claimed that Pakistan, out of that particular combat operation, the Indian, they have shot down one of Pakistan's fighter jet, F-16, but these claims were refuted, particularly by Pakistan, and also later by the United States, once they counted their, counted the US count of the fighter jets inside Pakistan. At the peak of the crisis, Pakistan also convened a meeting of Pakistan's National Command Authority, that is known as the apex body of dealing with the nuclear weapons. And this is composed of the Premier of Pakistan, Defense Minister, Foreign Minister, and other ministers, and also the services chiefs and the Chairman Joint Chief of Staff of Pakistan. In that particular meeting, it was decided that Pakistani people and its armed forces should be prepared for any kind of eventuality. However, as I told that the conflict and the situation, the crisis situation that later on de-escalated, there were different factors that how and why this crisis situation de-escalated. One of the factors, as I told, that it was basically the release of Abhinandan. And the second was Pakistan's policy of full spectrum deterrence, that is to deter aggression at the all conflict ladders. We will have a debate on this full spectrum deterrence policy of Pakistan later on in any other video, but these two basically factors contributed to Pakistan's deterring of India's full-scale operation against Pakistan. This operation, our Swift Retort operation, also proved to the fact that Pakistan's strength in the not only in the nuclear domain but also in the conventional domain, in terms of Pakistan's aerial and the conventional capabilities, despite the fact that India has conventionally superior to Pakistan forces in terms of the numbers, but the quality of the armed forces of Pakistan and also its air force was remarkable into that particular incident. Likewise, India, that might be thinking to create this impression of making these kinds of aerial operations and a new normal, that was negated by a Pakistani operation. And there was a statement, particularly by that at that particular time of Chairman Joint Chief of Staff, General Zubair Mahmood Hayat, who stated that Pakistan will not allow India to alter the strategic equation in South Asia. Neither Pakistan will allow India to establish any new normal. So therefore, we find that this was a situation in which the two nuclear adversaries, they basically engaged into a kind of crisis situation. There was a fear of escalation of this particular crisis at that particular time, because the Indians, they planned to strike Pakistan with around 6 to 7 missiles to target any of the cities in Pakistan. But once Pakistan they got to know about this Indian planning, Pakistan responded by saying that if India is planning to strike Pakistan with around 6 missiles, so Pakistan would respond with three times more the strength of what India will do. For example, if India strikes Pakistan with 6 missiles, Pakistan would respond with 18 missiles. So this was basically a, you can say, signaling or strategic communication that also happened during that particular crisis. Though India and Pakistan, they did not engage into a kind of further escalation of the hostilities, maybe any kind of aerial operation or missile strikes. But the Indians, they responded to heavy shelling across the India-Pakistan border and line of control, and both the states, they engaged into a cross-border firing in the aftermath of that particular incident. So we need to understand about the lessons that we can draw from this Pulwama and Balakot crisis situation. Lesson number one is that terrorism is basically number one issue that Indians, Indian security threat perception, they basically consider to deal with Pakistan. They consider that terrorism and cross-border militancy and terrorist activities are number one issue to deal with Pakistan. So terrorism in that particular sense and cross-border militancy is not only the issue of India. It is basically a common challenge of both India and Pakistan. In terms of Pakistan wants to address not only this issue of terrorism, but also other issues including Kashmir. A war may be conventional or may be limited nuclear, is not affordable, and it is neither desirable for both India and Pakistan in a situation in which both these states are equipped to have around 170 nuclear weapons each in their arsenals. So in the nuclearized context, any kind of crisis situation may be triggered by any of the event like this Pulwama incident. That is basically a trigger for the escalation and also dangerous for the strategic stability of India and Pakistan. Both should realize that the war cannot find a solution, and both the states one day sooner or later they will have to find a solution to their problems, and that can only be sorted out through negotiations. Pakistan is ready, but it is basically time for India to basically come to this particular point that the existence of Pakistan cannot be denied. It cannot be repudiated. Pakistan is a reality and it is here to stay. And sooner or later, they would have to realize this particular reality, and their idea of isolating Pakistan may not work. And ultimately, India may need to realize this particular situation. Moreover, there are less prospects for Indians to come to talk with Pakistan, but there is a strong need for both the states to negotiate and have diplomacy to work between them. If we talk about the Indian media at that particular time, the Indian media, it played a very negative role, I would consider, because it was filled with war hysteria and warmongering situation at that particular time. Might be it was dangerous for the overall peace between India and Pakistan, and also for the greater South Asia. Likewise, one thing that is very important to understand, that Pulwama incident happened, this Balakot strike and all these things happened in one particular scenario, that was the Indian election year. The 2019 was an election year in which that particular incident happened, and there are certain claims that might be India carried out this false flag operation to gain electoral support from its population, the BJP government at that particular time, led by Prime Minister Modi. If we talk about the US role into the Pulwama incident, we find that the United States, instead of playing a role of mediator and also diffusing the crisis, the United States of America, they supported the Indians. Particularly, there was a telephonic call between the US National Security Advisor at that particular time, John Bolton. He basically said to his counterpart, Ajit Doval, in 2019, by stating that the United States support India's right to self-defense. Likewise, there was also a statement by the former US Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and he basically said that we stand with India as it confronts terrorism. Pakistan must not provide safe haven for terrorists to threaten international security. Another important aspect to this particular debate is that India, that was planning for years to conduct a kind of limited war operation, what they call it as the Operation Cold Start Doctrine or proactive strategy, they did not materialize this particular military operation once this operation was needed the most to the Indian military and armed forces. And it is basically where Pakistan's full spectrum deterrence and overall nuclear deterrence works into that preview. It is a good thing that India did not carry out a kind of limited war operations inside Pakistan, and this vindicate Pakistan's idea of a full spectrum deterrence. But given this particular situation, any kind of these aerial operations or any kind of limited war operations, they are risk and they are basically perilous for the regional stability and strategic stability of the South Asian region. In the last, I would consider that both the states, India and Pakistan, in the aftermath of their nuclearized situation, or what you can call it as a nuclear South Asia, since 1998 up till now 2025, there had been 5 crises that occurred between India and Pakistan. The first was the 1999 Kargil conflict. The second was the 2001-2 border standoff. The third was the 2008 Mumbai attack crisis. The fourth was the 2016 surgical strike crisis, and the last one was this 2019 Pulwama Balakot crisis. During all these crises, India and Pakistan, they did not have a crisis management mechanism to avert escalation and to manage their particular crisis. There is a strong need between India and Pakistan to have a kind of crisis management mechanism, in which if these states, they basically face any kind of a tense situation, a conflicting situation that is going to escalate, so there may be any neutral third party who can intervene into their crisis to diffuse the crisis, or maybe there may be a track 2 or track 1.5 channels that or backdoor diplomacy that can work to avoid the crisis between these two nuclear armed adversaries. So 6 years after this Pulwama incident, there is a strong need, I would again say, that India and Pakistan, they need to sit, negotiate, and resolve their issues for the durable peace and stability of South Asia. I thank you.